We are down to the last 3 days of 10 days of 10 ways of how to vet some purchases before you invest in them. Are you being scammed? That's the biggest question I get from people. Am I being scammed by people? I don't know. So here I am trying to teach you all how to go and do your research and your due diligence so you can learn. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Who knows? Let's go. All right. What does their content library look like? And what I mean by that is not just their content on social media. We're going to do a deeper dive in this. Social media is important because now in this day and age, we have the videos. We can sense if they feel comfortable talking about what it is that they're selling you. We can sense if it is very scripted, if it is very rigid. You can get a real sense of who the person is now thanks to video format on social media platforms. What I suggest with that is go and look at them on different platforms. Go and look at them on LinkedIn. Go and look at them on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is they have. Go and check those videos out and such. And that will kind of tell you if they've created content across the platforms. It's not really necessary that they have to hit every one of those platforms by any means, but typically they will have a little bit of something here, there, and everywhere. Do not get hung up, and if you go to something, particularly Instagram, if you go to an Instagram profile and you're like, ooh, they have 1 million followers, they must be super smart and they know exactly what they're talking about. Not so. You can purchase followers on Instagram. And when I tell people this, they're like, what? Yes, that's a real thing. You can purchase followers on Instagram. I get messages constantly about it. You can batch like hundreds of thousands of followers for $100 and you can buy followers. It's a real thing. It's mind-bending, but it's a real thing. And so just understand that that happens out here in social media world. Is it right? No, but what it is they're trying to position themselves as an expert in a field. And they're just basically, they're hoping that you won't question anything. You're like, you just see that number and you're like, oh, they gotta be good. They gotta know what they're talking about. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. This is how you can vet things like that. Oftentimes those followers, even if you click on those followers, you'll see that when you do the deep dive and you go and view the profiles of a lot of these followers, those followers are typically out of the country followers, or they are followers that have accounts that have not been anything activated since 2021. So you'll see there's like been a deadpan of those accounts, most likely because those people are no longer on those platforms. So they have been duped as duplicate accounts. And that happens. So that's a normal thing, especially with AI. That's a whole other video. Anyway, so I would say go and look at all of their different social media content and basically pick up on what it is. Is it constantly buy my stuff? Then that's kind of icky, and you know that that's not good. So just understand that. Is it, are they mean? Are they condescending when they're answering questions? That's a red flag to me if I see that, and I have seen that. So that's something I wouldn't do. I would not participate in that. What is their overall message about? Is it talk to their experiences? Is it talk to, different things? That's what you're looking for. What is their overall message? The other thing I would say, you are trying to discover if they are an expert in that field. And one of the ways that we can do that is we can look at, have they shared in their trials, their tribulations, their lessons that they've learned? The reason this is important is because when you are purchasing into their program, you want to know that they're going to have the answers to the questions that you're going to have for them. And so just yesterday, I had somebody text me a question and I texted her right back and gave her my thoughts on it. And she was like, thank you so much. That saves me the hours of digging and looking for that answer. That's what you're paying for. That is what you're paying for, especially when you're paying for a high ticket item. You are paying on the years of experiences of that person. You're paying for their trials, their tribulations, all of the grit that they went through to learn about that kind of stuff. I have been through the process of meeting the board of nursing as a foot care nurse. I can speak to that, I can teach to that, and if I have anybody that ever contacts me and says, oh my God, the board sent me a letter, I can talk them off the ledge because I've been there, I dealt with that, and I know exactly what they want to know, and I actually have a webinar inside of my program talking about that to kind of negate that fear and that impending doom, but I know how to navigate those waters. If I have somebody that's like, a podiatrist called and yelled at me because he said I'm, out of my scope of practice, I can deal with that. I've already been through it, so I can help with that situation too. You are paying for basically somebody that is riding shotgun with you through that entrepreneurial journey, and they are showing you what they have been through, and you are basically paying for that experience, and that's what you're looking for. So you want to know if they are an expert in that situation so that they can help you navigate those situations as they come up. The other way to find out if they're an expert is to listen to podcasts. Podcasts are really good because a lot of times these people have been on podcasts, they've been interviewed, and you can listen to them for an hour, a whole hour collectively of their thoughts and their conversation. And it's basically like you're in a conversation with them. And one of the interesting things in podcasts is when you're listening to it, questions you'll have most likely will be answered by that person in the podcast itself. So look and listen to podcasts, because I think podcasts are really where people are starting to go and look for information on certain people, creators, and such as that. The other thing I would say is blog articles. What is the message in their overall blog articles? Read their blog articles if they publish blog articles. Because the other thing that I think that is important is you want to really get the overall message of who that person is. And so a big thing that I love is nurse entrepreneurship and nurse building, because there's so much vulnerability that has to be addressed when you're building a business. And this is one of the things that I discovered when working with nurses through the Foot and Nail Institute, is that there was a lot of vulnerability that we had to focus on for people to be successful in their businesses. And so from that, I have created a lot of blog article content around that, because it's not just about building a foot care business, it's about building you up as a person and building you back up as somebody who has that potential to go out into the world and market themselves. This is why nurses struggle with marketing. It's not about marketing, it is about the inner feeling about you as a person that you struggle with the marketing. And I talk about that in Heather Wilson RN. I talk about that in a deeper dive there, because that is something that we struggle with. And that's just part of the growth curve that has to take place in business development. The other thing I would say is, are they a continuous education provider? As a continuing education provider, I can tell you that you have to go through a whole process to become a provider of continuing educations. And I offer continuing education credits inside of my program. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to be able to position myself as an expert in this field of foot care nursing. And so one of the things that you'll see is there are a lot of nurses out here now that are continuing education providers, and there are nurses that actually teach to how to become a continuing education provider. Teresa Sanderson is somebody who actually teaches nurses how to become providers of continuing education programs. So that is somebody that I would recommend looking into if that is something that sounds appealing to you. And you're like, oh, I think I'd like to do that. Go and find Teresa Sanderson. She is on all the platforms, and she's got some good products out there to help you with that. I believe that is where we're at. We have 2 days left. I will see you tomorrow for the last 2 days. Hope that helps everyone. Thanks. Have a great day.